Welcome to Engadget's YouTube channel. We're so glad you're here with us for this special event. Today, we've had the good fortune of welcoming Google's Chief of Android, Hiroshi Lockheimer, as well as the lead for Google TV, Shalini Govil-Pai. So we'll be introducing them just a little bit later, but I just wanted to kind of let you guys know why we're doing this. Earlier today, Samsung had its Unpacked event where it announced the Galaxy S21, 21 Plus, and the S21 Ultra. And Hiroshi Lockheimer himself also made an appearance to explain sort of some of the details behind Google and Samsung's continued partnership on these S21 flagships. So we'll be talking a little bit about that. And then earlier this week as well, of course, it was CES, right? So there were a couple of Google TV sets from companies that were announced, and Shalini is here to talk about that as well. Accompanying me to speak with these two people from Google is senior mobile editor and one of the favorites on our YouTube channel, I want to say, hey, Chris Velasco.
That's not true. That's very kind of you to say, Shalyn. Thanks for having me along. I'm really looking forward to picking their brains because, as you point out, Google has made a lot of waves recently, especially within the last couple of weeks. So just getting a sense of where they are and where they want to be is going to be really fun.
So yeah, I mean, without further ado, I believe we can introduce them. Hiroshi and Shalini, hi. Hi there. Okay, so let's start with Hiroshi. Hello, how are you doing, Hiroshi?
Yeah, he's saying he can't.
Yeah, but Shalini, it looks like you can totally hear us, which is wonderful. You look great. How are you doing, Shalini?
Can you?
Yeah, don't worry. We're gonna keep this going. Don't worry, Shalini. Hi, can you hear me? All right, we're going to figure it out. I don't know if it does look like we're figuring out the technical side of things here. It has, yeah, Shalini. I see you're nodding. Does that mean you can hear us?
I can hear you. And Hiroshi says he can hear you now.
Okay, excellent. So we'll get right to it. Don't worry. Technical difficulties are like a part of life. No matter who you are.
Yeah. It's the virtual world.
Of course. I now also have infinitely more patience for whenever you're at a briefing or seeing a new product and the demo doesn't go exactly the way you expect it's going to. You know what that feels like now. Much more empathy coming from us in the future.
That's good to hear.
Hi. Yes.
There we go.
Yay! So glad to have you with us, you guys. I was just going to shout out really quickly, Shalini. I was doing a little bit of research earlier today just to see what appearance you've made, and I was so actually touched to see that you've done some really great interviews with some of your alumni organizations. I just wanted to thank you for doing that. I think that's such a good thing you've done.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for looking at it.
Of course. Hiroshi, let's start with you. First of all, thanks for joining us today. But yeah, like I said, you were, on Samsung's Unpacked event earlier today. Do you want to walk us through and our audience through some of the details that you shared around Google's and Samsung's partnership?
Sure. Well, thanks for having me, and sorry about the little mishap there in the beginning. I couldn't hear what you said in the beginning. So, in terms of the Samsung event, really honored to be a part of that. Not just personally, but on behalf of the team, we're just so excited about the partnership and the products that they've been building, including, of course, the S21 this year. I have one right here. It's great. I love it. We've announced a lot of things with Samsung today, including you can now put your Duo video conferencing, with your friends or whoever you're talking to on a Samsung TV. Android Messages is now default in many countries. That's a big deal for us across the industry, I think. The Google Discover feed, this is sometimes people call it the -1 screen, is now the Google Discover feed. That was a feature that was requested, I think, a lot from our mutual customers. Talkback in terms of accessibility, the ability, if you have impairments in terms of vision, this is a feature that helps you navigate your phone using your voice or through gestures. So that's something we're very proud to be able to do with Samsung. I think building products that's for everyone is really important for all of us. You're also able to now control your Nest devices through SmartThings. and also smart things will appear on Android Auto. So if you're in your car and you want to get your house ready, or lock up your house, or unlock your house, or whatever it is that you're trying to do, you'll be able to do that from your car soon as well. So those are some examples of what we've done with Samsung this year and announced today.
Yeah, I mean, I personally was stoked, and I know Chris was also excited. In fact, when both of us saw during the keynote that the Discover feed will now be the default -1 screen, both of us had a moment where we just went, huh, like I watched Chris's face tilt the same direction mine did as we were watching this event live. So that was really good to know. But yeah, lots of partnership news recently for Google, right? I mean, this Samsung, the appearance on Samsung's keynote, and as well as the, I know that you tweeted a picture of the Surface Duo before some of us reviewers had our hands on it too. That was really nice to see the partnership between Google and Microsoft, which is something that I was really excited about too. With Android, as a software base, by the way, just so open and so diverse across so many different types of devices, I think there is beauty, yes, in an open source and sort of very compatible platform. Do you think, though, are there challenges in making the Android experience consistent across so many different types of devices, though?
Yeah, it's maybe you could call it a double-edged sword. I don't know. I don't want to overstate it, but if you're looking for consistency across everything, across all partners, that's just not how Android was designed. The philosophy behind Android was that, and has been that we're going to open source the operating system. For those non-techie folks, that means all the work that the engineers do, the software engineers do to make Android possible, we release it to the whole world on the internet. So you can download what's known as the source code for free. And so whether it's Samsung or Microsoft, to use your examples, they can download Android for free and modify it and put their unique customizations on top, whatever they feel like is what their customers will want. And that's one of the beauties, I think, of Android, is that it enables that differentiation. But on the flip side, of course, that by definition means you're not going to get the exact same thing on all devices. So it's a balance. I think when there are products that people want, hopefully Discover is one of those, then it's up to Samsung, of course, in this example, but they decided they wanted to use Discover, and so that's great. We welcome that, and there are others who also use Discover as well, of course. But it's really up to the OEM and up to how they want to make devices to appeal to their customers.
I'm really glad you brought that up. And sort of speaking about sort of different users with different devices not getting the same experience. As you pointed out during the keynote today, Samsung is getting at least one Google software feature, a talkback, before other Android smartphones, I believe, including Google Pixels. So just give us a sense going forward, what goes into deciding when Pixels get to take the lead in introducing new software features versus other OEMs?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's something we talk about a lot in the Android team as well. Really, it comes down to if it's an operating system level thing that we feel has, whether it's at a developer level or something like TalkBack, where it's people with, in that example, sort of impairments in terms of vision, felt like the kind of thing that we should make available to everyone. And of course, if it's a developer related thing, by definition, you want as many devices supporting whatever these APIs are or these capabilities are, because you, as a developer, you want to be able to reach as many customers as possible, right? So that's sort of a guiding principle, I would say, is if it feels like the kind of thing that will benefit everyone immediately, let's make it available. Now, of course, there are if there are hardware differences, then it becomes unique. Whether it's Pixel or S21 or Surface Duo or whatever, every piece of hardware will have something unique or multiple things unique about them. And those things, of course, are going to be bespoke.
So I guess sort of pulling back and looking at how this could be traced out over time, is it possible that this could lead to a situation where devices from other OEMs could get access that just won't be available on Pixels or don't make sense for Pixels? For
sure. I mean, for instance, the Surface Duo has two separate screens. Today there is no Pixel that I'm aware of that has that sort of configuration with two separate screens. I'm not trying to be mysterious. I'm just trying to be conservative. So, that's an example, maybe a silly example, kind of an obvious example, but it's true. There are capabilities that some devices have that others won't have, and I thought that's okay. That is actually one of the goals behind Android and the open source nature of Android, is to enable that kind of innovation from whether it's Microsoft or Samsung or whoever.
I mean, that's a very good point raised, right? Like different companies are working on different softwares that they are prioritizing for their customers. For example, Samsung today announced One UI 3, which brings some features I think that Android as the base OS doesn't really offer. I think that for a long time, in the reviewing tech reviewer space have complained that Samsung's software can be a tad heavy on top of the UI and can slow things down. But lately, I think I feel like Samsung's native gallery app is a lot stronger and more powerful than, say, the Photos app on Pixels. So my question is, when you see companies like Samsung do things like that, when they make again, apps like the photo galleries app have functions that maybe their users generally seem to prefer. Is that something that, like, how do you feel about that? And is it something that you see yourselves maybe adopting over time and kind of baking into core Android code?
Of course, there are, we're always in contact with our partners, manufacturers, and we'll have conversations. Of course, sometimes they will want to keep what they've built to themselves, because that is an advantage that they feel they have, and we welcome that and we respect that. But it's, in some ways, it's weird to call it competition because we're all part of Android and we're all working towards the same ecosystem and same goals. But at the end of the day, it is competition, right, between these different hardware manufacturers. And we want to enable that, and we welcome that, and frankly, the more Android devices that are sold, the better from my perspective. So more power to everyone to do that. Maybe that sounds too simplistic, but that's how I think about it. But there are cases, where a manufacturer may say, look, we did this, we feel like this is going to help everyone, and so they want to share it back with us, and there are cases like that as well. So it happens in both directions.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I just wanted to circle back really quickly. We've done a fair bit of talking about sort of specific features and how they're implemented versus how they perhaps should be implemented in this chat so far. But, you said in your bit of the keynote today that Google and Samsung are taking the relationship to, and this is a quote, to the next level. I was just wondering, can you give us a sense of what that next level might look like? And also, to what extent is Google kind of pursuing that deeper level of relationship with other OEMs?
Well, I don't want to spoil any surprises, but 21 just started, and we have many more events to come, and hopefully many more announcements throughout the year. And so I won't spoil the surprise, but I will say, one of the things that we've been working on with Samsung specifically, just because of Unpacked today, I'll focus on Samsung, is how do we work together to simplify the software experience? Which again, you mentioned, okay, in the past, maybe One UI, you had certain feelings about their UI or whatever, and we're all looking at that same feedback. They're looking at it, we're looking at it. Of course, people have feedback about Google's UI as well, and so they're looking at it, we're looking at that as well. And, working together, what can we do more together to build the best experience possible for Samsung fans? That's something we've been working with the Samsung folks for a long time. Another theme I would say is, and Discover, I think, is an example of that. There have been criticisms in the past about, like, oh God, there's like so many things that are duplicated. Why is this and that? And so how do we together I'm just saying what a lot of people are thinking, so how do we work together to rationalize that in a meaningful way? Of course, if Samsung feels like their thing is so differentiated and people prefer it, maybe in your example, it's the photo gallery, and great, that's great. But if there are things where we can work together to simplify the experience, we'll do that.
Great.
Actually, sorry, let me add one more hint. I'll add one more hint. I did talk a little bit and they mentioned it a bunch too. It's a multi-device world. And so what can we do? It's not just, the phone, of course, is super important, but so is the watch, and so is the TV, and so is the car. And so, how do we make these things work better together is something that we're really focused on as well.
You stole that question right from me, Hiroshi, because that question was going to be coming at you towards the end of this 30-minute segment. But we'll wait till then. I know Chris has another question for you.
Yeah, just really quickly, before we turn our attention to all the progress made with Google TV, I know a lot of our readers and viewers have been really curious about the RCS situation with the Galaxy S21. You said during the keynote that it was, quote, native on the device, but can you just sort of unpack that for us? What sort of experience will people get, and sort of how can it differ between one device in one market and another in another market?
Yeah, there's a couple points. One, we've made some changes to the Android Messages app to optimize for One UI, just so it feels like it feels native, within the One UI experience. So that's point one, and we started that last year with Duo, as you may recall, and continued this year, right? Where I talked about how you can mirror your Duo calls on TV. Well, what can we do on the messages side to make Android Messages feel much more sort of, quote, native to the One UI experience? So that's one thing we've done. On the other part, I would say, and of course, for people who are watching this in the U.S., unfortunately, this does not apply to that audience right now. But rest of world, for the most part, there are some exceptions, but for the most part, Android Messages will be the default messaging experience on Galaxy S21. So that's a huge step. Relative to where we were even a year ago, where people were saying, oh, RCS seems interesting, but these companies, Samsung and Google, aren't working together. We are absolutely working together now to really evolve messaging, the default messaging experience on Android. That's not to say that people don't use other messaging apps, right? That's totally fine, and we recognize that. And I myself, I use a lot of different messaging apps as well. But for the default built-in thing that is today, for many people, based on SMS, which was developed 30-something years ago, we just want to modernize that, and that's what RCS represents for us.
We were about to turn to Shalini, but I did have one question that came up from what you just said, Hiroshi, which is that this is outside of the US. Within the US, though, what does the roadmap look like, and what are some of the challenges in enabling Android Messages being native here?
Well, it's this messaging service, when we talk about SMS or RCS, which is distinct, again, from, quote, over-the-top apps, whether that's Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp or Signal, carriers are involved. And so, we have many conversations with our US carrier partners. Samsung does, and we do too. So that's, let me just leave it at that. We're talking to them to see how we can move RCS forward in the US as well. We have those conversations. I'm not saying that's anything unique about the US. We've already had those conversations with our carrier partners across the globe. It's just the US is moving at a different pace.
Gotcha. All right. Well, it's time for Shalini to shine, right? We're here to talk about Google TV. Now, when Google TV, the platform, launched last year, it was just available on Chromecast devices, especially the one that you just launched last year called the Chromecast with Google TV, a very specific name. But there was the promise that TV sets with Google TV built in would be coming. And this year at CES 2021, we saw a couple of companies announce their Google TV sets. Shalini, do you want to walk us through the news?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So just before I jump into that question, just to clarify, all of our TV efforts are focused around Android, the OS, our world-class OS that we take and modify for TVs. And this continues even with Google TV. So the core platform, or the OS, continues to be Android TV, which Hiroshi just described is open source. It is our way of giving back to the ecosystem and making sure that everyone can thrive using this platform. Google TV in specific is an experience that we've built on top of Android TV. So all the apps that work on Android TV will work regardless whether they're on Google TV or not. So I just wanted to clarify that. Google TV is an experience, and you and Hiroshi and we're talking about experience and how experiences differ from device to device. And the reason being that consumers expect different things from different devices. And so when we started the mantra about what do consumers want on TV, what we realized is what they're really confused about in this day and age of enormous amounts of content coming through streaming and coming through live and coming through TV. What they're confused about is, hey, how do I even find what I want to watch right now? I don't even know what to find. This is great. There's so much content, but I really don't know what to look for. Or I spend 45 minutes trying to find what to watch. And that's really a classic search problem that Google is well set to solve. And that's what we set out to do with Google TV, is really bring together all of the content that a consumer is subscribed to or would like to subscribe to, and bring it together in one discovery paradigm that makes it really easy for them to quickly get to what they want to watch. And so that's really the goal of Google TV, is to make it as helpful as we can for our consumers who are on TV. It does also integrate with search, and it integrates with Assistant. So it's a very seamless experience. As you mentioned, we launched it first with Chromecast. Thank you for all your reviews on it. It's been really amazing. It's been amazing to see the feedback we've been getting. It's pretty phenomenal. I'm very, very excited about it. And so are our partners, as you can tell. So Sony, who's always been our partner, our closest partner to boot to date, we're launching with them. So it's going to be called Sony TV with Google TV. And we're also launching with TCL. And so that's the big news. So we're bringing this experience. It continues to be on the Android TV OS, but we're bringing this experience to the Sony TVs and to TCL and to many more over the year.
I appreciate that you clarified some of that. Let me just quickly talk about, because we also prepped to ask you, hey, there's some confusion around Android TV versus Google TV, and I've been aware that Android is the core base OS of Google TV, and that this is another layer on top of that. So you did definitely beat us to the punch again there. But Chris, having used Android TVs before, though, I had another question for you on that, Chris.
Yeah, Shalini, I really would just love to get a sense. And, this is something I've had some experience with the recent Chromecast that came with Google TV and Android TVs in the past, as Shalin noted. But for people who might not, just to put a finer point on things, give us a sense of what the Google TV experience is like on these new TVs. Do they boot directly into Android TV with the Google TV layer on top? Is there sort of an intermediate step? Just give us a sense of what to expect.
Yeah, so in fact, I was just testing out the Sony TVs the other day. So I'll describe to you my experience as a user, which is I booted right into the Google TV experience. It knows what I like to watch. And so that was kind of surfaced to me right top and center in the For You tab. We have a tab called Live. As I said, our whole goal with the integration is to bring everything together that the user really is interested in. And so when I go to the Live tab, which is where all my live content is, this integration is actually done with the tuner on Sony TV. So you could, of course, have a live app like a YouTube TV, which is what we have on Chromecast. On the Sony TV, we've actually integrated directly with the tuner. And so you could just imagine, like if I have an over-the-air broadcast, then right there and there, I get all of my broadcast content in one place. And so that's really the experience. I'll also add that Photos is our screensaver. So we have a direct integration into Google Photos. And my experience, as I personally experienced it on the new Sony OLED TVs, I was just blown away by the beauty of those photos that I'd probably forgotten. They were in my closet. And they just came out, and my whole family was sitting there watching them, and we were reminiscing about all those amazing journeys that we had over the last few years. And so that was kind of my experience. And I think that's what the beauty is as we bring together the software and the hardware and everything that our partners offer and that we offer, it just brings to light these amazing experiences.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, I'm sure Sherlyn would back me up on this, but just about everyone we know who sort of tried the new Google TV has really walked away kind of impressed with how sort of easy it is to wrap your head around, which is not always the case with other platforms. But to just pull back a little bit, there's quite a few Android TVs out there. Obviously, you've partnered with other companies to make them for years. What are we looking at in terms of an upgrade path? If I have my old Android TV over there, will I be able to get sort of a software update that'll bring me up to date with that new Google TV experience?
Yes, we're definitely working with all of our partners to ensure that first, that all new devices ideally roll out with Google TV, and that's our retail, what we call our retail sector. As you may know, we also have an operator sector that we call it the operator tier. Those platforms are based on Android TV, which means that, again, they get the same apps, the same Play Store. And so you're ensured that you will get all the same goodness. But the experience is really defined by the operator. And that, again, goes back to Hiroshi's point on that is the whole goal of Android TV and of Android, is to ensure that our partners can embrace experiences that work for their customers. Directly to your question, Chris, we are working with our partners to upgrade some of our products, but not all of them will be upgraded.
Gotcha.
And
Fair
we'll be
enough. I mean,
announcing.
yeah, it's certainly an unavoidable reality that not every bit of hardware out there will get the software that one might necessarily really want, but that's just how it is.
I think that makes sense. For me, I've been using the new Chromecast with Google TV for a while now. I'm a person with much older TVs than regular people, I guess, too. No smart TV in my life, unfortunately. So I've actually really appreciated the Google TV interface. I do, as a person who uses this on a daily basis, have some questions just about the way it works. And this is sort of a personal wish list section here. But it also touches on the thing I was talking with Hiroshi earlier about partnerships, right? Like Android, the Google TV and Android TV sort of situation here is that you're an open system and third parties apps can be hosted on here. People can access them. And so a lot of the way these things function depends a lot, I think, on how those companies make their apps work with your system. But for me, for example, I'll raise one example. Prime Video, I can play it nicely, yes, on my Google TV, but the shows that I watch on Prime Video don't show up on the Google TV interface in the continue watching row. So I know this is a very specific question, but it also has a sort of broad scope of kind of thinking about, is Google planning on talking to third-party app makers like Amazon, for example, or HBO Max, or people like that to kind of get better integration into Google TV's home screen?
Definitely. First of all, I wanted to just say thank you for using it. You've definitely been using it regularly to ask me a question like that.
Yes,
So
I
I
have.
appreciate that. And by the way, Hiroshi sends me feedback all the time, so I know he's using it too, which is exciting. And so, we work very, very closely with all of our partners to constantly make sure that, our model works for them. So we have a very consumer-based lens. So this is what's best for the consumer, and you're expressing what works best for you as that consumer. Sometimes business models work and sometimes they don't. And so that's that constant dialogue that we're always having with them. Our goal is always to be the best partner as well as providing the best user interface. And so those are the fine balances that we're always working through.
Okay, I get that. Now, I know we're about out of time. Just for the live stream viewers, just to let you know, we're actually going to have to let Hiroshi and Shalini get back to their very busy lives at 5:30 p.m. sharp Eastern. So we just wanted to end on broader, looking forward types of topics. For both of you, and let's start with Hiroshi, what can we expect from Android and Google TV in 2021?
This relates to maybe a little bit what we talked about a little bit earlier. It is a multi-device world, and we're really focused on how to make the way we talk about it is how to make 1 + 1 = 3. That is, if you're an Android phone user, regardless of manufacturer, right, and an Android TV user and an Android, and you're using Android in your car, maybe through projection mode, or maybe you have one of those cool new Volvos or Polestars that have Android built in. And by the way, maybe if you have a Fitbit, which by the way we're able to announce today that acquisition. Yeah, thank you. Et cetera, et cetera. How do we make tablets? How do we Chromebooks? How do we make all these things work better together? Is something that we're really going to be focused on, and I think you'll see a lot of progress there this year.
Shalini, is it more Google TV sets?
Definitely scaling out Google TV is a big focus. I think as a lot of us start working from home, what we're seeing is the trends that we're seeing is enormous appetite to consume all kinds of content on TV. And so, of course, content coverage remains number one goal for us. But in addition, we're seeing lots of new like fitness apps that are just exploding on TV. We're seeing gaming coming into its own. We're seeing video conferencing happening from TV. And so how do we expand the charter of TV to be more than just watching TV is something that our team's thinking through, especially along the Better Together narrative that Hiroshi was just describing.
I do have so many more questions for both of you, honestly, including what your favorite type of sushi is, Hiroshi. But we're at the end of our time here, and I think we have to let you go. So hopefully we can continue this conversation and talk again another time, Hiroshi and Shalini. Thank you so much for joining us today. V, did you have any closing thoughts?
No, I really want to thank you for your time. It's been great to just sort of peel back the curtain to the extent that we can, and definitely hope to do it again with you guys soon.
Thank you. That'd be great. Would appreciate it. And P.S. It's cucumber rolls without wasabi. That's my favorite. But that's okay. We can talk more about that some other time.
We will. Shalini, thank you for your time. And for everyone that's watching the stream, thank you for joining us today. You can always find me on Twitter at Sherlyn Low, and Chris is at Chris Velasco. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye, guys.